What's up, and welcome back to the greatest teacher of all time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color, type their personalities, strategies, and philosophies on education. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and visit greatestteacherofalltime.com to help me highlight more great teachers like Mr. Foster. What's up, Mr. Foster?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for being here. I saw you doing some great things on Instagram and in your classrooms and thought you should be highlighted.
I'm trying.
Yeah. So a lot to talk about, but you are a fifth grade teacher and this is your very first year, right?
Yes, my first year here.
Oh my
First
God.
year, first period.
Yeah. So how's it going? So disclaimer right now is February. I don't know when this video is going to post, but the end of February, beginning of March is like the time when teachers start to feel it. We're like, ugh. So how are you feeling first year in? Are you reevaluating?
Man, because of the role that I'm taking is a little bit more tougher than usual. There's been definitely times I'm like, man, like I kind of wish I went a different route, but like this is the route that I'm taking, and it's all for a reason. So I just take it as a blessing just to even be here because like probably 10 years ago, I couldn't see myself in a classroom because I was like doing other stuff.
Okay, okay. Well, so if you don't mind, what was your career path? Like, how'd you get here to teaching? Fifth grade.
Man, it was so random. At first, it started, man, over a decade ago. I was working at GameStop and then I got let go at GameStop. And a friend of mine was like, hey, you should come work at the YMCA. And I was like, well, I need to pay for bills. And sure, why not? And it was like, well, you like kids, you worked with kids before. And I worked with kids at my high school at the time, but it was like preschoolers and stuff like that. And then I felt the moment I walked on campus as a PE coach and seeing those kindergartners like just excited, like I felt something there. I was like, I kind of like this. So after probably like 2, 3 years of working at the Y, ended up finding this after school program called LA's Best and started working for them because I wanted to get closer and closer to the classroom. But I did not feel that because at the time I wasn't going to school. So I didn't think that I was ready to be in college just yet. And or well, actually, no, I felt that my time had passed to go to college. And then at that time, I was only like 22 years old, I think. Yeah, like 22, 21. And I went from LA's Best, worked my way up, left from LA's Best, and then um, ended up losing my job from LA's Best, actually. And then ended up working kind of like a lower level after school program at a charter school and because I was a site coordinator at LA's Best, they were like, "Oh, you're kind of like overqualified for the job. Do you want to be a site coordinator too?" And I was like, "No, not really." I was kind of down at that point because I really loved working at LA's Best, and I felt like everything was just a misunderstanding. And then my daughter came, and then I had to make a decision, like do I want to follow my career path, which is like teaching, or do I want to get into something else, like work for DWP? And I was like, I want to get into teaching. And my daughter motivated me to go back to school and just to, work on it. And I used to take night classes at Pierce College and I'll be there until like 10. And then at that time, when she was born, I had to move to Palmdale. So it was really, really far away. And then so imagine like driving from Palmdale to the Valley to West LA because I finally got a job as a TA like every day for like the last 7 years. And then once I was getting closer to graduating from CSUN, yeah, from graduating from CSUN, um, because I went to Pearson, went to CSUN, and then you know, I wanted to do more. Like I was ready to like my course was like ending for being a TA. And I decided to become an instructional assistant aide and then did that for a year to see a different school. And then finally my opportunity to become a teacher for this program that I'm in right now came up and opened up finally. And now I am doing like an internship program for the district and which allows me to work in the classroom setting as a teacher and get paid like a teacher, or at least an entry level teacher, and I still have to take courses and stuff to get my credentials. So I'm not a fully credentialed teacher just yet, but I'm working on
Okay, great, great. And again, inspiring story. And thank you for sharing that. And I think it just shows
it.
that, no, it shows like the real aspect where like things don't always go the way you plan. Like a lot of things like always happen in between. But I do applaud you for sticking with that dream of wanting to teach. So good on you
Thank
for that.
you.
Yeah. And so again, this being your first time, you're with fifth graders. Um, right now, the what winter spring 2023 is an interesting time because of course the pandemic happened. A lot of students were virtual. I'm sure in your classes, masks
Yeah.
are probably coming off, but students are probably used to being in class now at this
Mhm.
time, right? Would you say? As before, it seemed like you've been off for like a year and a half, like you don't realize how to be back in the classroom at this time. Do you see
Yeah.
any differences?
Um, Here, yeah. I mean, well, for our district, it kind of like integrated very slowly. At first, they were doing like half a days and stuff like that. So, I remember when I was a TA and an IA, like like some of the kids would be on campus for half the day, and then the other half would come on there. So they're like, I feel like the district slowly integrated the kids into back to being on school campuses. And for my first year, we were all wearing masks, and then we slowly, like once they stopped doing like the weekly testing, slowly the kids started slowly starting taking off the mask, because I felt, not me, but from what I've observed from my students, that the mask was like a kind of like a way for them to hide from everybody else. Like they put their mask on and put their hoodie up, and then slowly but surely, like the kids who kept their mask on for the longest and who weren't sick or anything, just wearing them just to wear them, they were taking them off. They were being more, engaging in conversations. It felt like school again. And right now, it's definitely feeling like school.
Yeah, I like you saying it feels like school now, back that we're fully back now.
Yeah.
And it's funny you said like wearing the mask to hide, because I definitely do that too. Like going out to like the grocery store or something. It's like wearing a pair of dark sunglasses inside. It's like put on
Yes.
my
Yeah.
mask so no one will see me and just be about myself, you know?
Exactly. No one bother you when you have a mask on.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Also something else. So I follow you on Instagram and you do a lot of really cool posts about things you're teaching. You kind of do like these mini vlogs on your story. But one thing you talked about was that you made a post that said that you reminded yourself, or a teacher or someone wrote a card that reminded yourself of these goals you had as a
Right.
teacher, right? And it
Right.
helped you to keep yourself accountable.
Right.
Can you tell me more about that?
At that time, it was my principal from my old school. Um, at the time, a lot of the teachers there knew I wanted to become a teacher, and they knew that I was going to school, and like they would see me sleeping in my car early in the morning. And because I had to get there really, really, really early, like I would be the first person there before the plant manager. And because like my commute is so long, and if you know LA traffic is no joke, and I hate it. So I would get up extra early in the morning just to get to school. And like I would take like an hour and a half or an hour or 2 hours just like to sleep or to do homework. And they knew that I really wanted to do this, just from my energy and like how much I gave to the school. And looking at that note was just a good reminder of what she was telling me about. Like she wanted to offer her help to like for my portfolio. I believe at the time I was at CSUN, and I was talking about how I wanted to build a portfolio. So then when I do start looking for jobs to get hired at other schools, it'll be a whole lot easier. And she did help me a lot too. She wrote out some recommend letters of recommendation for me, a couple of them. And a couple other teachers also gave me like letters of recommendation as well. And it was just like a nice little reminder that there are people out there who want to help out, especially like during this hard time as a first year teacher.
Yeah, definitely. That first year definitely can be rough. And mine wasn't my first year, but I remember maybe during my fourth year. It was like
Mm,
right before that Christmas winter break, and I was just feeling burnt out and feeling drained. We're like, I need this break, right?
mm,
But something told me before I went on that break, I like went through like my old Google Drive back to when I was in teacher school or whatever, and they actually made us write like a mission and vision statement for ourselves as a teacher. So
right,
I went back and read that statement from like 4 or 5 years ago and was really just reminded of my purpose or why I actually wanted to teach.
right.
Right?
Sometimes
And
we
one,
need those reminders.
yeah, seriously, seriously. And one of my things that I wrote on there was that I wanted to make each lesson a learning experience, right?
Hmm.
Not just a lesson plan or anything like that, right? Like it was an experience to learn. And at that time, I realized that I completely stopped doing that. Like it was just worksheets every day, right? So I want to ask you now, what were some of your goals you made before you started teaching that really just helped in keeping you going?
Um, for sure, I want to be as authentic as possible with the kids. Um, Especially with the demographic that I serve, in terms of like being one of probably three other African American Black educators on campus. I'm the only Black teacher here. There's another person here who's also Black as well. She Her role is something completely different, and my principal is Black, which is one of the best things ever. um, but just to be as authentic as possible, to make those real connections with the students as best as possible as well, like to make them feel safe in the classroom setting. Like I want them to feel like this is their second home. And the crazy thing is like that today I was leaving out for lunch and I'm walking through the office. Usually I don't even do all that stuff. Usually I just stay in my classroom, but I wanted to go get something to eat. And one of my students' parents was sitting in the office, and I didn't realize it was her at first. I was like, she looks familiar. I just said hi because I'm always very nice. I'm nice to everybody. Like I want to connect with everybody on the campus. Like even if you're not my student, like you're gonna know who I am. And like just as I was about to leave, I hear one of my kids. He was like, "Mr. Foster, I'm about to leave." And I'm like, "What?" "Oh, okay, let me come back upstairs." And I was like, wait a minute. If that's him, oh, that's his mom right there. So I got a chance to talk to her, and she was just telling me how like he loves being in my classroom and he loves coming to school. Like he wants to do homework. And this is one of my kids who's like struggling the most, especially because he just got here. And for him to feel this safe and happy in my classroom made me very happy. Like, all right, I'm doing my job. Because at first I thought that he didn't feel safe in my classroom, but hearing that coming from his mom and hearing that coming from him made me a lot happier.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And I think it just goes to what I want to talk about next and being at a place where you're really needed and valued and appreciated. But one post you made, and I don't want to mix this up, but I think you made a post about going to a school where you feel that you're needed. Is that true? You had to switch or you're about to switch?
No, no, this was the school that I needed to be at. It was I was doing interviews,
Okay.
and for the program that I'm in, they had like this whole thing of interviews and stuff. And the school that I worked at for like almost a decade was originally my first pick. And at the time, they weren't looking for any new teachers. And then one day I'm still looking on the internet and looking through our district website. And I've already did like 4 interviews. Those schools never called me back. So I kind of figured, okay, it makes sense. Like they're looking for a teacher that can speak Spanish and stuff like that. And my Spanish ain't that bad, but still, but then I saw that my school was looking for a teacher for 5th grade or 3rd grade. And I love 3rd grade. So I definitely wanted to do that. But at the time, the school that I'm at right now, they had I think they were giving me an interview the day after. So I in this school that I'm at is a school that I worked at before too, but when I was working at LA's Best. So they both hold sentimental value to me. And um at first I was like, well, I've been at this other school for so long, almost 8 years. And even though like this school, I've been here before, it's just that I know the kids over there. they'd be super happy to see me. And I'm comparing the scores between the two schools, like to see like I think it's called greatschools.org or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but like greatschool.org. And the school that I've been at the longest, like had a really, really high score. They were like a 7.5 out of 10. And the school that I'm at right now, they're like a 3. And I'm like, man, what should I do? But then like when I did my interviews for both schools, and I was talking to a friend, and she just said, you need to be where you're needed the most. And it sounds like the school where there's a 3, they need you the most. And I was like, you're right. Like it was just like simple. Like, why am I even debating this? Like, is I realized it was because I was gonna be in a situation where I felt uncomfortable in terms of, you know, like not that uncomfortable in terms of like, oh, I can't work here, but uncomfortable in terms of like, I don't know these people like that. Like I'm gonna be the new guy. I'm the brand new person here. And going to my old school, I'm not the new guy. Everybody knows me and everybody loves me type of thing. But I had to get over that. And I was like, this is where I was needed the most. And being here for like the last like half the school year so far, this was the best decision I ever made.
Wow. I love that. That is great to hear, to feel that you're actually helping this whole school do better, right? And it's not just the students, but like the entire school that you're uplifting to, right?
Like I was super excited about like we have like data chats and stuff, and just seeing the growth in my classroom in terms of like their test scores, like it shows like a 26% increase is amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that just shows you are meaningful. You are making a difference, Mr. Foster. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And man, so my when I approached this question, right, I thought I kind of had something else in mind where I taught at a couple different schools where different private schools, public schools, charter schools, where it was mainly a white population, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of them except for my first public school, which was like 99% Hispanic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so at those schools, I felt that I was needed to be the black teacher there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as bad as that might sound, but the real reason was because I feel like I was the teacher that these students needed to see,
Yes.
right? They need to see that a black person doesn't have to be in a gang, right? A black person can talk regular English or maybe even use slang and still be professional, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you ever feel anything like that similar?
Yeah, just to like yeah, there's super valid points there just to show that, um to give them some sort of representation outside of what they see on television is what's needed the most. And like you said, I feel like as black male teachers, we definitely have the means to like switch it up whenever we need to. Like my kids, they see me come through wearing Jordans sometime. I'm wearing nice shoes, or like I was planning on this month, like this because it's Black History Month, because I would never wear a suit to school because I don't want
Whew.
kids my suits. But I was gonna come in here with a suit on and everything, just to like look extra professional and stuff like that, just to show them like various different sides of what it is to be a black male in society, and to show them like we're not just one faceted type of person.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I don't know if I would ever wear a suit to class, but I applaud you for it. Man, again, great, great insight. One other thing I wanted to talk to you about was this Instagram post about teacher presence, right? So there's
Right.
a post by an account called The Untouchables, and I'll read through the caption first. It says, I have news for you if you're worried about your teaching persona, because you have a more introverted or shy personality. You can be an incredibly strong teacher. You can classroom manage like a boss. In
Mhm.
fact, being a little quieter can actually work for you in some circumstances. Regardless of your personality, mastering the art of swapping between credible and approachable nonverbal teaching styles can and will transform your classroom management. So, off top, before we actually get into that, how do you
Mhm.
feel about the teacher presence, teacher persona?
Before reading this, like, no, actually, when I read this, I thought to myself immediately, like, wow, these are things that I do subconsciously. Like I don't even think about these things. And like a teacher's presence is so important because like you can tell when a teacher is rattled or is out of they're out of their element. And it's okay like when it happens every so often because you want to let these kids know that, we do make mistakes, we are human, and we can talk about those things. But at the same time, like I'm a firm believer in classroom management. And not to say that, I'm like some sort of drill sergeant or anything like that, but it's just like classroom management helps with everything else. Like you can't teach if your classroom is out of control. It's hard to teach when a kid is hungry. It's hard to teach when, oh, I have two kids who have like problems with each other that goes along with classroom management. So like the teacher's presence is so like important, and it's just like reading between the two, like credible and approachable, and how it looks, how it sounds. I was like, wow, these are definitely things that I just do that I don't even think about. I just know when to switch it on and switch it off.
Yeah, and I think that's a sign of a great teacher where it comes naturally. But let's talk about what these actually are. So the two different types, the first is approachable. And
Mm-hmm.
what it says for what it looks like and sounds like, it says our body language and movements are casual, loose, and bubbly. We might be much more gestural with our hands, and we will
Right.
nod a lot more. We may walk around a lot and engage with those who we're talking to. So yeah, approachable. How do you tackle that one? Do you think you do that one more? Or?
I feel like I feel like I'm a good mix between the two.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Talk
to
about
be
how you use
honest,
this one, the approachable.
oh man, like approachable is like if I have the kids doing like think pair shares, and I want to hear everyone's like opinions on a matter or their thoughts and how they're sharing with each other. Like I'm walking around the classroom and I may like I'll pick out like two kids just to like, excuse me, just like to hone in on what they're talking about. And they'll look at me and then they'll continue talking. I'm just like, mm-hmm, really? And then I'll ask questions, and my like I like how they talked about how your tone is a little bit different too, how you speak is different. It's a lot more higher pitch, it's a lot more it's nicer sounding, whatnot.
It's more
And
inviting, right?
yeah, it's more inviting, exactly. And it's just like if they have a question, they know like, well, Mr. Foster, is that right? And I can say, well, what do you think? Like, how can you prove it? How can you disprove it? What how do you feel about that? How can we communicate between each other in a respectful manner in which like, we can share these ideas between each other. And like when I read that, I was like, wow, I do that a lot.
Yeah, super, super interesting. And I want to touch on what you just said about where they ask, is that right? And you're like, oh, let's figure it out, right? My
Mm.
approach to that is if they say, is that right? I legit say, I honestly don't know. I didn't do this one at home before we got here. So let's do it together, or they have to try to convince me that they're correct, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Um, I want to talk about this a little bit, but approachable, do you think this encompasses like the way teachers dress? Do you think a teacher could dress more approachable?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
This is a very good question. I've noticed that a lot of teachers that I follow on Instagram are like happen to be, female teachers, and they're all really amazing too. And I noticed that how they dress is inviting in terms of like it's full of just happiness, right? And I noticed that a lot of like veteran teachers and veteran like teachers who are just like, that old school academic type of way, they're more like muted. It's dead colors for the most part. It's not like it's not someone I want to come and talk to. And if I was a student, like would I want to talk to them? And then it remind me of they just they remind me of the teacher from Recess, her from her. Like I can't remember her name, but she was just like the mean teacher. And like I never really thought about it simply because, well, if you're a teacher in a classroom, you're the only adult in there. therefore kids have to come to you. But I noticed like when I was a TA, and when you're a TA, you're just observing so much that, and now that I'm thinking about it, there were still a lot of kids who did not go to those teachers because they felt uncomfortable in there. And it could be just simply how they dress sometimes, how they dress, how they talk, like how they're probably in that more credible stance the entire time, very still, very to the point, very less of you guys can come to me, more of I'm coming to you type of thing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And man, this makes you think just when I did it, right? So I don't know if I thought about being approachable, but I think like my general attitude and like happiness made me approachable, I think,
Right,
right?
right.
But even back when I first started teaching, I kind of had like a chip on my shoulder where like I wanted to like look older and like more mature and stuff, right? So I would like dress up every day. Like I would never wear a t-shirt or Jordans or anything like that to class. I would
Mhm.
wear like my nice dress shirt, maybe nice jeans and like my dress shoes too. And that's
Mhm.
just because I wanted to feel older and look like an adult.
Yeah, yeah, I get that feeling too a lot. I
Yeah, right.
worry about kids stepping on my shoes. Like these are dress shoes, like sneakers. Oh, I don't care, but like dress shoes. Mm.
Yeah, it changes things, man. But getting to the other approach, which is the credible one, right? So this one I'll read it again, what it looks and sounds like. It's a focus on stillness, steadiness, and slowness in our body language and movements. We are controlled and intentional. We breathe slow and deep. Our hands are more still. So this one also talks about your tone being more steady and your sentences ending with like a downward inflection. What do you
Hmm.
think about this one?
I definitely thought about this one as like when I am doing whole group instruction, and
Yes, I was gonna say the same thing. Keep going, keep going.
like whole group instruction when it's less of them, less of their input unless I ask for it, and more of like, all right, I'm giving you information that I need you to like soak up right now. And then if I have questions for you, it's more or less, to see where you're at with that information. Like, so it's more for my own monitoring of understanding of anything. And like when I read that, I was like, most definitely I do that when I'm in front of the board, or most likely it is me in front of the board or with my projector, and we're just talking about information and just going over that information, letting them know like this is serious information type of stuff. But I thought that was really cool, especially like being still and steady. Like during that time, I'm not moving a lot at all. I notice I'm standing in one space. Or if I am walking around, I'm only walking to either move away from the speaker so then they can get their voice louder if I'm asking a question, or it's during the time that they're doing think pair share and I'm moving from one area to the room to another to highlight information somewhere else. And I was like, wow, like that is definitely some subconscious stuff that I do that I didn't even think about.
Again, that subconscious, a sign of a great teacher, right? When I heard of this one, I immediately thought of when I'm introducing like a harder
Mm-hmm.
physics concept, right? Where I
Mm-hmm.
try to talk not as much, give like the bare minimum, and like what you said, let them absorb the knowledge, right? Let you do the thinking. I'm not inviting you to questions. I'm not saying too much. It's all on you this time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, again, it's that balance between the two. Which
Yeah.
one do you think you use the most?
I feel like if I use which one I use the most is more like a 60-40 or maybe a 45-55, if anything. But I feel like I'm a lot more approachable because we work in such small groups all the time, and it allows me to walk around and let them like guide and lead the class as best as they can. And then when I'm introducing like a new concept or we're reviewing a concept, that's when I like fall back into, all right, this now we're paying attention to Mr. Foster at the front of the board, and he was not more credible, still, slow and steady, taking my time with the information type of stuff.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I do feel that. Wow. Thank you for this, Ms. Foster. This has been a lot. I mean, we unpacked a lot in a short amount of time, and I appreciate you for it.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all.
Yeah, yeah. But again, your insight on the teacher presence, what made you stay at this school where you feel like you're needed, and how you were reminded of your goals. They're all some of the reasons why I think you might be one of the greatest teachers of all time.
I feel like I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
Hey, you're
I'm gonna
you're already there.
get
I
there.
feel it. I feel it. And thanks to Transcendence Children and Family Services, I actually want to present you with this $100 prepaid gift card to use with you or your students or anything else you like.
Oh, so now we're about to get some chairs or something.
Hey, see, right? Yeah, because you deserve it. Your classroom deserves it and everything too.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Foster. Also, with the support of Victorious RED Restoration, I want to actually help sponsor your class with a class pizza party.
Oh wow. Oh, they're gonna love that.
Yeah,
They're
right?
gonna love
Give those
that.
fifth graders something to celebrate. You. Yeah, yeah. So once the cameras and everything go off, I'll get your address and everything, and I'll figure out how to mail this gift card and get those pizzas delivered to your class.
Awesome. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. You are the greatest teacher of all time. You deserve it. Thank you to everyone else for watching The Greatest Teacher of All Time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color tied their personalities, strategies, and philosophies on education. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and also like the video. And if you really liked it, leave a comment for me and Mr. Foster to look at. Also, if you are the greatest teacher of all time, or if you know the greatest teacher of all time, recommend them to me. Go to greatestteacherofalltime.com and click on Submit a Teacher, and I hope to see you soon.